Okay, so I'm back. My old sort of background is obviously a lot of what I'm trying to do is cover the road that was walked, how I ended up where I am, and what the experience was like. But the background is kind of important because while there are lows, there are highs, and there are, I think, elements overlooked in mental illness in general. There was a bit of a cliff note for where I am today. I woke up and I felt okay for about 10 minutes before I got to work, and I worked for about an hour before I literally couldn't process the very nature of continuing to exist. I thought that's a good time to do the video. Earlier in the morning when I felt good, I thought it's going to be a better one. So I'm not living in England. I'm living out in Europe, and I've got medical insurance like an American, I guess. I went to my doctor's 4 or 5 months ago, who referred me to a psychiatric hospital over my suicidal thoughts. The hospital saw me for 4 hours, prescribed me some medication, which I tried. 2 things came of that. 1, I had adverse reactions to the medication and had a number of respiratory issues as a result. 2, my insurance provider wrote to me and said that I was not covered for psychiatric care under my policy. This meant that every time I saw a doctor about being mentally unstable, it would cost me $150. I am now in medical debt, which is what you need when you don't want to exist. Eventually, I decided I would use the Wizz Air family pass and some discounts, and I would fly to England 3 weeks initially, get back with my local GP, and get back on the propanol that I told you I used as a teenager. So, friend Nick, obviously still quite regular contact, as I said, supported me a lot over the years. Helped me book my flights. He booked my trains back, so nothing to worry about. 2 days ago he asked me for my passport numbers. I don't know where the passport is. I have a lockbox, a large metal lockbox, so it seems to be gone. So now an entirely new stress. I don't even know if I can go to see my doctor because I can't find the things. I've pulled the house apart 3 times. So that's just a bit of a prologue to where I am now before I get back to where I've been. So it's kind of weighing. We finished in the previous post about my wife and child making it through childbirth, thank God. And as time went by, things in my life seemed to be a little bit better. I've been working on a project called HD DVD Revived, which was basically I was one of the people who bought a HD DVD player, and I was, as I've said before, someone who likes to create video. So I decided with Nick we would start a company that did independent public domain film distribution. But the problem being everyone's doing this and there was no niche, but I had a HD DVD player I wanted new content for, so it seemed to me like I should find a way to put public domain stuff on HD DVDs, and then I've got a niche market. So I spent ages working on this thing, because part of the problem being they no longer made blank HD DVDs anyway, so you couldn't press them. You needed to be able to get them onto a DVD, but encoded as a HD DVD, which you can do with relative ease using something like Cyberlink Power Director, and it will play on an Xbox 360's HD DVD player. I know this is all technical and boring stuff, but I'm also a nerd. But the problem is it wouldn't work on the Toshibas, and there was a very finite limit as to what you could get on there. It was about 45-50 minutes. Unless you used a dual layer disc, which the HD DVD player on the Xbox wouldn't play. So the problem became trying to make it fit a 720p disc or a 1080p disc on a single layer whilst keeping it actually 1080p whilst feature length. Then there was obviously the problem of actually HD public domain footage. I spent about 4 months working on this using various things. I'm sitting in my sort of video lab now with all the stuff I still use to do it. Eventually I found a way to do it where we could use a red laser single layer disc and get a feature length film on a disc that would play on the Chinese players, the standalone Toshibas and the HD DVDs. So that was nice. We launched that business and we started listing the products on Amazon, and of course they started selling. About 20% of the people who ordered, we had to then send a DVD instead, because they didn't realise that HD DVD and DVD were different things. So there was this whole thing, but not a problem. On the whole, the business worked. It was successful to some degree. We then started to really push back into CKDS radio because I needed some downtime. It was just me and a couple of close friends, essentially drinking and talking nonsense on the air. This is all, like I say, still about 11 years ago. It was nice. I went to, I think it was my first comic and sci-fi convention ever that year. And it was the Watford one. And I'm walking around in Virginia Hay from Farskeepers Inn. And I walked up to her desk and she said, "I know you." I went, no, you don't. She went, "I do, I know you." I was like, "You can't possibly know me." And she said, "I do, I know you from somewhere." "Where would I know you from?" And I happened to be wearing a CKDS radio shirt. So I hoped it went to listen to a lot of online radio, because that's the only thing. She went, "Oh my God, yes." She said, I love it, I love it." She goes, "Could I come on your show?" And I went, what's happening here? She goes, I'd really like to come on." And I was like, "Sure." She goes, "Here's my number, call me." I went, "Okay, I will." She went, "Don't just say you will, don't just say it to placate me, call me." I was like, "I don't think you understand what's going on here. You're Virginia Hay and I'm some idiot. I will definitely call you." I moved a few feet to the left and Jerome Blake from Fifth Element stands up and sort of, "Excuse me." I was like, "Yeah." He went, "Did I hear you say you were from the radio?" I said, "Yeah." And he went, "I'm making an album. Can I play you a song?" I went, "What's happening today?" And he went, "I've got my guitar, we can just go in the car park." So I went in the car park and Jerome Blake sang me some music, playing guitar. I called Virginia. I went to her house. She made some food. It was lovely, and agreed that she would do 13 shows. I think it was 13 on the radio. Crazy. But I contacted Nick, and getting drunk in the kitchen of my council house is one thing, but to have someone like Virginia in there was insane. So I spoke to Nick and I spoke to Ken, who were two people. Ken was somebody I worked on other media projects with, and we drummed up the cash to put together a small cabin in the back garden, essentially, and fit it out as a studio. This again accentuated the craziness of my life, and on the CKDS radio website you can see some of the pictures from what happened with the studio. But essentially, as we dug up my back garden, we found a body. It wasn't fresh, it was just bones, but it was piece by piece bones coming out of the ground, and the police had to cordon the garden off. It turned out to be historical, so it wasn't like someone had recently been killed, but it was very suspicious because it was under poured concrete in my garden. We had pulled up this piece of poured concrete to make a larger platform, and as we dug less than 6 inches down, we put in our bones. Stressful, but looking back on it, sort of funny and very much my life. As we're putting up the summer house, the cabin, we get everything but the roof on, and a torrential storm, gale force wind comes in and starts filling the building up with water. So then I had the battle to try and get the roof on in the storm because there was no way to get a cover over it. Again, there's real details about this on that website. Eventually it went on, and then a different storm took the roof off. We had to rebuild. But we got it going, and Virginia came on and did her 13 episodes. She invited us to be the official press at Chippenham, I think it was Chippenham Comic Con. I got to meet, I got to have lunch with Chris Barry from Red Dwarf. This was huge. This is, I think, by far one of the most fun parts of my life. And this is important because at this point in my life, my business is making me more than enough money to survive, and the radio is bringing me a great deal of joy. And as we go forward, you'll see why this is kind of an important point of anchor. But good things must come to an end, it seems. Even CKDS Radio was making money. We were earning advertising revenue, which was going straight into our Live 365 account, and we could cash out at any time. I made an active decision to simply pay our broadcast subscription fees several years ahead so that we would never have to worry about them again, and then earn going forward for our own pockets. 3 weeks after I did this, Live 365 declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy. All the money we didn't draw out was lost, our license was devoid, and the station closed down. Bit of a shitter. We made several false start attempts to restart the station, but the truth is nothing out there was equipped to do what Live 365 did. It handled your license, it handled your broadcast, it provided you with decent software. So everything else we tried to do was a nightmare, and I have enough nightmares. Even then, like, I'm giving you some positive highlights, but there was a point where I got sent a £40,000 council tax bill for my council house, which, if you're English, doesn't make any damn sense. And yes, I fought it, and yes, it did get erased. It was the strangest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And up until that point. So, I've now lost my main hobby. We we start to have some problems with Amazon. Now on Amazon we'd expanded beyond the HD DVDs. We now did DVDs and VCDs, and we started buying in UMDs for the PSP to sell. Now, the strange thing that we started to experience was we had a couple of false copyright claims against our content. And we got our content from reliable sources. They were legally checked to make sure they were in fact public domain. This caused us a couple of run-ins with Amazon, but it was fine. Until one day, somebody bought a UMD and they weren't happy with it. I don't know what specifically was their beef with this UMD. Now, bearing in mind, we had a fulfilled by Amazon warehouse. We had acquired our stock, sent it to Amazon. Amazon were housing all of it. So they had access to everything we had. This person reported that the UMD they'd received was counterfeit. It obviously wasn't. It was, I assume, a different region. We never really had contact with the customer. Amazon suspended our ability to sell. So we contacted Amazon and said, why? They said, because you sold a counterfeit UMD. I was like, we absolutely did not. We get our UMDs from reputable sources. That particular one had come from a company in the UK called CEX. I'm sure, again, if you're watching in England, you know them. Our self-press stuff is all licensed, all public domain and verified. We've never sold anything counterfeit. And so if you don't trust that it's not counterfeit, the items are in your warehouse, go check. And they said, it's, been reported as counterfeit. I said, what is the logic in counterfeiting a UMD that at the time, that particular UMD cost 50p to buy from CEX? So the cost of me pirating the UMD would be £7. Why would I fake something that's cheaper to buy? So this went back and forth for a bit. Amazon said they verified. By the way, they did go and they verified that our stuff was not counterfeit. So they responded with, okay, we can see it's not counterfeit. We'd like to discuss reinstating your account. How can you prevent further counterfeit claims against you? I said, well, we can't prevent false claims. That's not on us. That's on you. We can continue to sell real things. But a false claim from an angry customer just trying to get a refund because they ordered the wrong thing, that's not inside our control. And what's worse is, as I said, with the HD DVDs, if you ordered the wrong thing, we actually did just send you the DVD. We often didn't even ask you to send back the incorrect order. So we had a fairly liberal policy. If that person said, oh, I've ordered the wrong thing, please send me the right one, we would have. It's why we had, up until 4 months ago on eBay, I had 100% feedback on 15 years of trade. That in itself as well is stress. Maintaining that kind of feedback every time you get an upset customer, my heart jumps into my throat. I'm actually almost relieved that we've now got a negative. Not that it matters, because that's a more recent issue that we will approach at some point. Amazon found our approach to preventing claims unacceptable. But I honestly don't think there is anything we can do to stop people doing stuff like that if they really want to. There's not. So they terminated our account and sent us a bill for the withdrawal of the items. And under the termination reason, bearing in mind we had like a 12-month contract, they had that I had sold counterfeit goods. We've already established I haven't sold counterfeit goods. And they sent me this bill, and it was in the region of several £1,000s to get my stock back from the warehouse after a premature termination. I said, this is a premature termination without cause, so send my stock back, please, thank you. They said, no, you have to pay for it back. The cause was counterfeit items. I said, if the cause is counterfeit items, then why are you offering to send it back? that's a criminal activity. No, surely you should be sending my items to the police. Because if it's counterfeit, then it is police property now. If it's real, then it can be sent back to me. If it's counterfeit, I can't pay for you to give it back because you shouldn't be sending it back. And if it's real, you've terminated without cause, so you should be sending it back and not charging me. Eventually they sent the stock back, and then a few months later again tried to bill me. So we'd now lost Amazon. As time went by, a friend of mine started to try and pick up the Amazon for the sake of selling for a commission. This sort of worked for a while until stuff in his life went wrong, and as a result, what was for a long time my primary source of income was lost to me at some point around COVID. We're jumping on this story a little bit. So financially, sort of a bit gutted, both from CKDS Radio and Amazon. But I lost the radio and I lost Amazon myself personally 9 to 10 years ago, across the board. This is what started the snowball of financial problems. And you know, I guess depression from not having a hobby, not pursuing my passion anymore. People would order from the HD DVD website, but it was sporadic compared to Amazon. Yes, you know, it's one of the world's biggest marketplaces, and you know, music soothes the beast. I keep being told I'm a fighter. I guess it's true. I then retrained. I retrained in several fields. Let me see if I turn the thing. Oh. I actually have a number of certifications, diplomas, all from retraining. Master of Adobe Web Design, Fundamentals of Network Security, Diploma in Food Safety, Diploma in Customer Service, Diploma in Computer Literacy, MSDL, CLATE, and some other things. I really sort of branched out and opened myself up to whatever I could get into, because at this point I've got 2 kids and a wife to take care of. I eventually got a job at Sony. I think that is the right place in the timeline, but part of, as I say, wanting to go back to England is I do need to see the doctor, not just about the stress and the panic attacks, but the memory loss. So the ordering of some of this stuff might not be exactly right. But it's approximately correct. The events, these are the ones that have scarred the shit out of me. Excuse the language, I'm sure YouTube will tell me off. But the time I could be off by a few months here and there. Working at Sony wasn't so bad. But again, things went wrong. I honestly don't remember whether or not actually Sony could have come before the radio. I think it did. Yeah. It came before Talon. I think. There was Sony and there was a cafe. I know Talon was around during the cafe, but I think maybe Sony was earlier. It was. Because it was just me and Jack. I have a lot of it because I've obviously been somebody who I've established was always into video and stuff. I have most of the major moments of my life on some sort of tape or picture, which I have to use more and more often to remind me what happened. But I have them, so mostly I can. So this was after Jack's mum had left, I think. I remember, I know that I ended up not working at Sony because of migraines. I've had them for most of my life. But I went on a holiday with Jack, I think a year after Catherine left. And I ended up walking down the beach with my mum, my dad, my nan from my mum's side and my granddad from my mum's side. My mum and dad separated when I was one. Up until that day, I'd never walked down the beach with them. I'd never been on a beach with them. And Margaret and Granddad John, my nan and granddad, had divorced before I was born, I think. So I'd never been anywhere with them either. But it was because my granddad Fred had passed away, who Margaret had been with my whole life. So she came on the holiday with us, and we met Granddad John, and Dad just sort of turned up on the beach. It was weird, but I went to see the doctor when I got back because the migraines had stopped. And he said, no. That's how they started. I remember. I went to see him because the migraines had started. And he said I'd had a nervous breakdown. And I said, I've never had such harmony in my life as to be with my parents and my grandparents on a beach with my son. You know, Catherine's been gone for a year. I've adapted. And he said, it's not your normal. And it's caused you to have a nervous break. I said, so I can't have normal. I can't have happy, or it will cause me pain. I'm sorry that all became a bit scattered, and again, I'm not going to edit it down at this juncture. I think it's important that you realise, if you care, that I have to frequently use this stuff to remind me what happened. And if I could stand my own voice, I might occasionally watch these myself and use them as a way of getting a cliff note of my life rather than watching these events, there's a bit of a difference, I think. You know, my voice is on these and it grates on me, but it grates on me as in a sea of voices, whereas this is, I think, too raw for me to watch back ever. So I won't. Touching on what I said earlier about trying to travel to and from England and not being able to cover the medical expenses, I guess I should probably put a crypto wallet address in the description or something, so if someone wants to contribute towards it, you can. I don't think you will want to, or anything will come of it, or even that more than one person will watch any of this shit. Excuse my language, you see. I've got no chance of being monetized, have I? You know, I'm boring, I'm long-winded, and I keep swearing. But never say never, I guess. Equally, you know, if you are the sort of person who wants to give something, remember places like Mind exist, and a lot of mental health charities became understaffed and struggle with budget since COVID. So, you know, look around and find something that reaches for you and give to them if you can. I know I'm sitting here telling you to give away your hard-earned cash in every which direction, but you know, only if you can. I'm trying to make something positive come of this crap. So, on that note, I'm going to call this one because I don't remember the timeline, and I need to watch some stuff back and work out where Sony and the cafe, whatever the cafe is called, come in my life. I know there's a lot of stuff that happened during the year Nikki was pregnant with Talon, but sadly, which will come up in a later video, the day I realised I don't remember any of that, and didn't take enough video to be able to restore that information. So yeah, I'm going to leave it in this sort of air of I am personally confused, and I will try and check in tomorrow. At this point, I don't even think anyone started watching, so by the time anyone gives a damn, I'm sure the whole story will be there in some order. So if you did watch, thanks for watching. If you did garner something helpful for yourself, then fantastic. I don't think I said anything useful.